Sure thing. Hi, everyone. My name is Deepa Bachu, and I have with me Alisha Raghavan. The two of us are thrilled to be spending some time with you today talking about our experiences working with products and how to create awesome products, basically. Can you just confirm that you can see my screen?
Yeah.
Awesome. Just going to try to put it on presentation mode. All right. So both Ali and I, we work for a company called Pensaar Design. Pensaar Design is a design strategy and innovation consulting firm. We believe in helping our clients or organizations we believe in helping them by fueling growth and really helping them meet their customer needs innovatively. I'm going to just introduce Alisha. Alisha heads our design organization. And you might think, wow, what's a designer doing in a product conversation? So much of what we do with design is really about understanding the customer, then creating solutions that help delight customers. And through this process, we really do focus on what are the requirements, what are MVPs. You know, I met Ali a few years ago when, you know, I was quite impressed by how right after, you know, completing her graduation, she focused on doing her own startup. She wanted to, you know, write the rules herself, worked in a startup, and then realized that it also makes sense to work in a large company. So she worked for a logistics company where she helped them not only create the experience, but also define what the solution is. So, you know, I get the opportunity to work with Ali every day, pushing the boundaries in terms of what customers really want and pushing the boundaries in terms of how we can create those experiences that not just stop at meeting customer expectations, but really delight them. Ali?
Yes. So let me introduce you to Deepa. Deepa is my boss, so let me find the right words to introduce her to all of you. But more than a boss, she's my mentor and somebody I aspire to be like. One of Deepa's many envious qualities is her ability to seamlessly combine her deep empathy to understand customers with a sound understanding of technology and product. And this ability of hers has helped multiple companies that she's worked with in a product design and product as a design and product leader. At Intuit, Deepa helped pioneer design thinking and worked closely with the Intuit co-founder, Scott Cook. One of the many products that she led, Fussell, went on to become an HBR case study and is part of their top 10 innovation must-reads. And it's continued to be taught at leading B schools today. And even after so many years of working with her, I continue to learn from her every day. And I'm really glad that all of you all get to get a glimpse of her awesomeness today.
Thanks, Ali. That was really, really kind. For the next 45 minutes, 30 minutes plus Q&A, what we want to do is talk to you about how can you create products that customers simply cannot imagine their lives without. We all want to create awesome products. And to be honest, in my career, I've certainly worked on products that didn't quite elicit that, you know, emotional reaction. But luckily, I've also had the great fortune of working on products that really elicited that emotional connect, where customers simply couldn't live without my product. And what I want to share with you today, along with Ali, is how do you first understand customer needs? How do you then ensure that the solution you're creating meets those needs? And how do you measure customer success? All in service of creating products that customers simply love. I think there's a lot of emotion associated with everything that we do. If you know, mentally think about what products you like using and you recommend to others, there's always that emotional connection that you have. So today we really want to focus on just that. To start with, when you create products, you've got to start by understanding customer needs. Elon Musk talks about the first principles thinking. And really, it's about freeing ourselves from all the assumptions and really start to challenge the problem space from a clean slate so that we can identify and innovate ideas that are completely irreplaceable, as in people can't imagine their lives without it. A lot of times, though, as product managers, we start with deep biases. We believe we know the space. We believe we understand how customers work. We try to put ourselves in customer shoes. But one thing that we have come to believe is that we all have unconscious biases. And these unconscious biases are perceptions of the customer that we have that are heavily influenced by our own lives, how we feel, how we interact. And these are completely unsupported judgments. And the thing is that these are unconscious. So you don't even know that you have these biases. So today we want to talk about how you move from that place of unconscious bias to conscious understanding, where you can deeply connect with the customer, not only the customer, but also the ecosystem that they work with. Who do they work with? Where do they get their information from? Who are they influenced by? So really understanding that entire ecosystem to help you, I guess, look for surprises, be curious, and truly understand what customers are looking for so you can put at bay your own assumptions based on the new knowledge that you've acquired. This process of moving from unconscious bias to conscious understanding is easy to explain, but very, very hard to actually do. And the honest truth is that even we, when Alisha and I are working, we do catch ourselves with unconscious biases. But the important thing is to keep it in check and take a step back and really understand from a customer's perspective versus our own biases. So because we don't want to just throw frameworks at you or buzzwords at you, what we also want to do is give you some examples. So Ali, take it away.
Yeah. So let me illustrate this through an example. We worked with this boutique training firm in Bangalore that was extremely popular and sought after by leading multinational companies for their quality of training. But as their clients grew, their clients wanted to engage with them more expansively. And so they reached out to us to be able to use technology to scale, yet deliver on the quality of training that they were so well known for. And so we began this process by conducting research with their customers across age groups, across learning profiles. Deepa, if you could move to the next slide. And as we did that, we were able to dispel some of the unconscious biases through that process. All of us began by believing that organizations and individuals wanted to learn in a more serious and professional approach because this was a professional environment. And because this was a professional environment, they wanted to learn from experts. But through the process of research, we understood that, really they were open to learning in a more fun and engaged way. And to our surprise, it wasn't just the individuals, but even the L&D departments were open to a more fun and interactive way for their employees. And also that it wasn't that they wanted to learn from just one expert. They were looking for multiple points of view. They wanted to be able to expand their perspective and enrich their learning experience. So how did we go through this process of removing our unconscious biases? Through the process of customer research, we struck up conversations with different customers. We asked them a lot of questions. We remained curious. We asked them open-ended questions to elicit stories, and not just stop with the first answer they gave, but to really keep probing and following up to understand them more deeply. We listened. A rule that we follow at Pensaar is 90-10, where the customer speaks for 90% of the time and we speak for 10% of that time. So you follow up, you paraphrase, you try and understand what they're saying, and you play it back to them. And you savor surprises. So you don't treat them as obstacles, but every learning, everything that you learn during research is something you savor. And finally, you observe. because humans speak in the form of intention, and through observation, you are actually observing actual customer behavior over what they just say. Deepa, if you can move to the next slide.
Yeah. So what we wanted to first talk about was, how do you get to those deep unmet needs, and how do you understand through the customer's lens versus your own? We've got a quick exercise for you. There's a link. Julia, I'm not sure if this link has been shared on the chat. We'd like you to take the next couple of minutes, maybe even 5, to answer this question for us. How do you guys, as product managers or product manager aspirants, how do you ensure that your solution meets customer needs? Can one of the organizers just confirm for me that you've shared this link with the audience?
Okay. Just a few seconds.
Okay, sure thing. So while that's being done, guys, I just want to basically go back to the framework that we're talking about, which is...
could you please go back?
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, okay, thanks.
Can I move the slides now?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I just want to go back to this framework of the first principles thinking. And of course, Elon Musk has said this, so it's heavily, heavily popularized. But the way that we think it's really important is for us to first sort of really unsee all of the biases we have. And given that they're unconscious, the only choice that we have is to build deep empathy. And the ways that Alisha was talking about, those are the ways that we can build empathy, right? To start by listening to what people have to say, asking them those questions and not being afraid to do it. Ask a lot of curious questions, but more importantly, listen and observe what they're doing. Because a lot of times when you have conversations, people tell you what they think you want to hear versus what they actually do. And that gap between intention and behavior is a really important one for you to solve for. Julia, how might we see what, should we go to that link as well? Ali, maybe you and I can go there.
Ladies, I send a link to chat of Zoom, so you may use it.
Thank you.
Or do you have it? Okay.
We have got it. Yeah.
So everyone, it's a simple Excel list. So you may put any thoughts, any minds about the topic into any cell. Just text, what do you think about how to ensure your solution meets customer needs? A few minutes more for you.
Are you able to edit it, Ali? Because I'm not able to.
I can.
Okay. If you have multiple thoughts, go ahead and please add the multiple ones. I see folks are typing in and some of you are done.
One more minute, right, ladies?
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Just text, what do you think? All your thoughts, please. We don't have any rights or non-right answers. Just share everything you want to share or you think.
Yeah, we're seeing some responses already. Too.
Yeah.
Oh, Tasia, sorry. All right, we'll just give it another 30 seconds. All right. Thank you guys for your responses. Some of you have talked about user research, validating through MVP. Some of you have talked about KPIs. You've talked about customer feedback on product metrics. You're talking about testing with the user itself to see if it meets. Speak with them in the context, I guess. There's some tips of what to do and not to do. Don't prompt for responses. Try understanding the jobs that customers are trying to get done, and that's a really good one. Oh, wow, and someone's given us steps on what to do as well, which is great. Folks are typing vigorously, so I'll just give that another few seconds. So yes, absolutely, you want to test with the users. But even before you test with users, how do you, through the process of moving from that unconscious bias to conscious understanding, how do you get to a place where you have confidence that in fact, the idea that you've come up with can meet the customer's needs? Someone's referred to the jobs that the customers do. That's actually a beautiful framework, the jobs to be done framework, to look at what is the job that the customer is hiring you or your product for. And by hiring your product for that particular job, how do they want to have the job done? So, how you ensure that your solution meets the customer needs is in fact going to defining what success looks like for the customer. So I love the ideas around KPIs, love the ideas around asking customers. But more importantly, what you want to do is define what success looks like, even before you've written a single line of code, or even before you've articulated a single wireframe or a requirement. And this is really, really important. You want to write down what matters most to the customer through your, conscious understanding of them. You want to look at what is the reason that the customer chose you or will choose you over competition, and articulating that and writing it in a measurable way is really what the customer benefit metric is all about. So let's just take a quick example. Several of us use Amazon. If you look at streaming, solutions, we buy on Amazon, we maybe watch and stream on Amazon. So if you think about your e-commerce experience, what are a few non-negotiables? The reason why you choose Amazon over the several other solutions that might exist. Same thing, you want to identify, in the case of this learning solution, What is the reason the customer would choose our learning solution over the several other learning solutions that exist in the market? That is how you measure success. That is how your customers measure success. So those should be the same way that you measure success. So you first write down what matters most to customers when they choose a solution. What benefit do you think will actually make that improvement in the customer's lives? And then you define a quantifiable metric, not something about the customers liked it or didn't, but really a way to quantify using behavior. And of course, you could have multiple customer benefits. So you write all of them and you connect them up with the problem statement itself that you're after. So first thing, after you move into that state of conscious understanding, you write down the problem that your customers want you to solve, or in using the words of some of the folks that responded, the job that they want you to accomplish for them. And the customer benefits are how they want you to get it done, how they're measuring success. So it's a little counterintuitive, but even before you start your brainstorming or ideation, if you have a clear view of how customers measure success and you're able to articulate it, you can now look at all of your brainstorm solutions and see which ones work best from a customer standpoint. Ali mentioned that I worked at Intuit. One of the big takeaways for me from Intuit was ultimately you want to get to delight, and you want to create those solutions that customers simply can't live without and simply can't stop talking about. They're recommending it to others. But at the bottom of the pyramid is really benefits that you care about. If you focus on that first and simply do a kick-ass job at what the customer wants you to do, how they want you to fulfill that job, you then layer on ease and positive emotion to get delight. But unless you have that core job that you're doing extremely well in a way that customers care, it doesn't even matter if your solution is easy to use or if you're bringing in delight by surprising them. That improvement in the customer's life, you want to actively write down that benefit, write it down in a measurable way, and continuously and constantly measure it right from when you've started to ideate. Ali, do you want to talk about this? Or should I?
I can as well. So in the case of the learning firm, the training firm, the benefits were fairly clear. There was, give me access to multiple viewpoints that I will contribute to my own learning and to help me monitor progress. And each of these benefits, if you think about it, can be measured in the way that they engage in their own learning journey, in the way that they seek multiple viewpoints, and in their ability to, how often are they possibly tracking their own progress.
So we then want to move to how do you measure customer success? So the first thing that we talked about is, how do you, sorry, just give me 1 second. Sorry, I just lost my screen. Spinning out of control. All right, so the first thing we wanted to talk about and we talked you through is, you'll excuse me while my slides do whatever it is they want to do. There you go, I think I'm back on track now. The first thing we wanted to talk about was how do you understand customer unmet needs? And again, they say repetition doesn't ruin a prayer. So I'll talk about how you want to think about, you want to move from your unconscious bias to conscious understanding. The second thing that we wanted to talk about is how do you ensure that your solution meets the customer's needs? And this is by identifying those benefits, how customers define success, why they would choose you over competition. That's really what you want to articulate and look for yourself. Even before you take it to customers, you want to look at how do you look at the various ideas you have and how does that stack up against the customer benefit of how they wanted to, for you to solve the problem itself. And the third thing is, how do you measure customer success? Yes, you have customer benefits and you have those measures, but as several of you talked about, you want to go out and test this with real customers. So Ali, do you want to walk through the experiment canvas on how you can actually measure success?
So I'm sure a lot of you must have heard of Eric Ries's lean experimentation. And we use the experiment canvas to design experiments on key assumptions we're making about the solution, which if not held true, the entire solution will fail. So you start with a vision for your solution. You go down to detailing out what was your idea for that challenge. Then you list out all your key assumptions about the idea, which, like I said, if not held true, the entire solution would fail. Then for those assumptions, you write down a few hypotheses that support solutions or features that support that leap of faith assumption. And for those hypotheses, you begin to design experiments with clear metrics so that you can measure the behavioral response of your customers. And on completing that entire cycle of running those experiments, you come back to the canvas and you reflect on the results. And when you reflect on the results, you will have a clear understanding of whether I should move forward with the solution. Should I pivot? Should I tweak it? Should I build it? Should I iterate on it? So in the case of the training firm, there were a couple of ideas that we were looking at. One was a network for learning, a platform where mentors and mentees could connect with each other and allow each individual to have multiple conversations with different mentors. And the other idea that we were looking at was a gamified learning platform where people would play games online to learn. And the critical assumptions that we were testing for each of these ideas was, one, that people would in fact be comfortable with meeting new people, meeting new mentors every single time. And two, that people will be open to learning in a more fun and interactive way. And if you look at these assumptions, if either of these were not held true, those ideas would fail. So we actually ran multiple experiments, but I'll showcase two of those experiments to you. In the case of the mentor and mentee, we actually sent out emailers to L&D professionals, mentors, and working professionals, inviting them to sign up on this platform, this networking platform, through a link. And in the case of the gamified learning, we took the help of our illustrator and created a comic strip for a learning module. And we sent it out to recent trainees of the training firm to take an assessment and see if they would come back for more. And here's how it went. In the first experiment, what we saw was that it was only mentors and maybe a few L&D professionals that signed up, but not a single working professional signed up. So while mentors were open to and were looking to take, share their learning and wisdom with mentees, mentees were looking for a more personal connection and mentorship. In the second experiment, much to the surprise of the training firm, people actually really enjoyed the comic strip and that fun, interactive way of learning. We had a lot of people who actually reached out to ask for the second module. And so in a very short period of time, this was a matter of 1 to 2 weeks, and without writing a single line of code and spending a lot of money, we were able to determine what solution would work for the customer and the training company, and determine what customer success would be.
Yeah. So at this point, what we'd like to do is, I think we went a little faster than we had anticipated. We want to open up for questions, but I don't know, guys, if you noticed, I'm also putting in some comments on that Excel spreadsheet for the question we asked. So feel free to look at some of my responses, and I'm happy to continue responding to that as well. But at this point, if you have any questions, please ask them.
Yeah, we have some questions. So let me ask. From the first principle thinking slides, if we are PM and have done lots of research on the same product field, didn't we know the challenges? Will it be right to say to forget all the challenges?
Yeah. So it's a really interesting question. While I didn't do it, I did work on a solution that had been, I don't know, I think it was like version 30. Every year we'd like roll out a new version of the product. And I will tell you this, you have to have a lot of humility to go back to customers. One, customers' needs change. Two, you get new customers. Hopefully you're always looking for new customers. And three, you can really never know enough about your customers. You know, you might, again, you know, a lot of the unconscious biases seep in, especially when you believe you already know what the customer needs, what they're doing, and why they're doing. So I would say, you know, go out, have that conversation, and identify and really think through some of those biases that you might have. Savor surprises as we think about it. It's rare. I mean, I've worked in enterprise products as well as consumer products, and I would say I still learn every single time I go talk to a customer. Products get complicated over the years. And the product that I was talking about, where it was, you know, version 30 or 20 plus, the product got really, really complicated. So from time to time, you have to come in and you have to refresh. You want to acquire new customers. You understand those needs and figure out how to accommodate those in your already large product. So I would say even more so, you've got to go to first principles thinking when you are working on a product that's not a version 1 or a version 5, but a version 20. And it takes a lot to have that humility to go in, have that conversation and learn and savor those surprises. You know, at Intuit, Scott Cook, the founder, used to always talk about how they dismissed the surprises for a long time. And it wasn't until they started savoring those surprises that they said, wait a second, what is happening here? And we can't ignore this anymore. Let's really solve that problem. That's when Intuit grew from being, you know, a small company to a much larger company. So savoring surprises, really, really important. First principles thinking, even more important for legacy products and B2B products.
Absolutely agree. Thank you, Deepa. We have a question from Scrum product owner at the life company in Bangalore. How would you differentiate empathy map and unconscious bias to, oh, sorry, my English is so bad.
No worries, I got it. How do you differentiate between empathy map and unconscious bias?
Yes.
Yeah. Got it. So the empathy map is a fabulous tool. And it's a tool where after you understand or connect with customers, you're able to do, what did the customer say? When the customer was saying this, what were they doing? When they were saying and doing this, what were they feeling? And if you connect all the three to understand really what is the customer's belief system, what are they thinking? When you do this entire circle, you come up with what we call insights. You come up with unexpected connections that you didn't already see. These are insights, and empathy map is a tool. Moving from unconscious bias to conscious understanding is a mindset. You know, a lot of times, and I fall into this trap myself. Oh yes, we know the customers. We know, we've done research. We did it last year. Let's just do a survey and let's figure out what has changed. that doesn't work because again, you've got a lot of unconscious biases that have just sort of piled up. So what we're talking about is, again, having the humility to go out and talk to customers, observe them, interact with them and their ecosystem. What you get from that, you will put in an empathy map and synthesize that. So you use both those in conjunction.
Yeah, agree. Thank you, Deepa. What is the hardest, most annoying part about customer success? Annoying, sorry.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Yeah. What is the hardest, most annoying part about customer success?
What is the hardest, most annoying part? Ali, you want to take that?
Yeah, I think initially, sorry about the background noise, but initially I think people are so excited about solutions that you just want to go ahead and build it out. So I think the patience to stick with it and run experiments and test those assumptions, because you're so gung-ho, you're like, I already know the solution will work. And I think for a lot of people, that's the annoying part about measuring customer success, because you want to go out and start building this product and take it to the market. So sticking with it a little bit longer to really test that customer behavior before you can build it out. And sometimes, for example, if your assumptions turn out to be not true, then that can be a little bit annoying and a little bit hurtful. But if you truly believe in your customers and you stick with it and again, savor surprises even at this moment, to say that you really want to build this right by the customer, then it won't really be annoying because the final result will truly be more delightful even for you.
Yeah, just a quick story. We had, doing some work in the US with retirement planning. We had a focus group and, we brought a bunch of people in the room and everyone was telling us, the single most financial job that's keeping me up at night is I don't know when I can retire. And I'm not at retirement age right now, but not having a plan for retirement brings a lot of stress. And so we created that product, we beautifully designed it. And when we started running experiments, no one even wanted to interact with the solution. And that should have told us something, but we didn't listen then and we kept moving and moving forward. So I think sometimes your own biases, as Alisha said, can come in even at the stage of experimentation. So for you to just really take that step back and say, all right, you know what, I'm going to be maniacally obsessed with the problem, not my solution. I'm going to just completely I'm going to be obsessed by solving that problem and solving it right. And I won't stop till I find the best solution for my customer. That process can sometimes be really annoying because you think you've come up with some amazing solutions, but customer behavior doesn't seem to support that understanding. And what can be even more annoying is some of you in the Excel said, hey, you can go talk to customers, ask them what they think, do prototype research. In this case of retirement planning, we actually did a lot of prototype research. And customers told us they love the solution and that they would absolutely buy it. So when you get this, things that don't line up, that can be really annoying and frustrating when customers say they will do something and then they actually don't. And you're constantly looking at, wait, maybe I went to the wrong customer set. That can be really annoying. But there's a lot of dissonance that's created when you just simply ask customers. You want to put experiments together so you can see real behavior. So I'm not saying don't prototype research. I'm not saying don't prototype. But when you get positive reinforcement with prototypes, take that with a grain of salt. It's, start celebrating that success only once you've seen true behavior through your experiments, but not when you're prototyping and customers are telling you that they love your product.
Yeah. Thank you, Deepa. Absolutely agree. Customers are not our enemies, I would say. They are someone from whom we may take some opportunities. So we should talk with our customers. Absolutely. Another question from Prashant, who is working as an associate product manager in a healthcare tech startup in Bangalore. So he's asking how to balance the needs of the end users with the needs of the business partners in a B2B product.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, whether it's a B2B or a B2C product, you always have end users. And I would say that is who you want to focus on, the end users. Having said that, in B2B, the big challenge is that the person that signs the check for your product or buys the product is different from the actual end users. And so that can create a little bit of friction when that person has different needs. So when I've worked in B2B environments, and I know Ali has as well, so I'd love for her to answer this question too. When I've worked in B2B environments, it's been really important to have two users that you think through. First and foremost, the end customer. Because even after you sign the check, if you're not getting active use, they're not going to renew your subscription, or they're not going to continue using your product. So first focus on end customers, but you're also going to have to create dashboards or solutions or functionality that even the end users may not use, but the person that's signing, the dotted line to bring you on board as a solution will. So you've got to look at the secondary customer as well. Ali, anything to add?
I think the other thing that I would add is because you have these two users and you have people within your organization that, the business side of it that you need to convince as well, is to sort of take customer stories and evidence to them as well, to build that evidence that, this is something that the product requires, to sort of get them to also buy into that solution and why you're doing that. So, I mean, we've done things like take them for customer interviews, take recordings of customer interviews, or take videos of customer interviews, because unless they hear it directly from the customer's mouth, no matter what you say, you're not going to be able to necessarily convince them. So it definitely helps to take them along in that journey so that they understand why you're possibly recommending a particular change in that product.
Thanks, Ali. Yeah. Another question, maybe not a relevant question, but your slides are so trendy, so attractive. What's the tool used?
Oh, we've got some fabulous designers, but this is Keynote. And we believe in hand sketching everything. So these are all just, using Illustrator, and it's Keynote, that's all. But thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah. It's really, yeah. What if the customer do not understand the plan? What if the customer do not understand the plan of action you designed with the mindset of the customer? What to do in this case? Yeah.
Oh my gosh, if you understood the mindset of the customer, there's no way they won't use the product. There's just simply no way. If that happens, maybe we didn't understand the customer to begin with, right? Like the retirement example I gave you. We clearly didn't understand that that's what they desired, but wouldn't spend 2 minutes doing. When you understand the true mindset of a customer, there's just no way they won't use your product. Simply no way. That just will not happen.
Yeah.
Sorry, probably not the answer you want to hear, but something is disconnected then.
It's realistic answer, so thank you. Thank you for your reply. Will this first thinking principles work in PM is technically strong and customer is from non-technical background? Sometimes customer may ask silly requirements.
Yeah, So the important thing is when we say listen to your customers, it's not listen for requirements, right? You cannot, and please do not listen to customers when they say, I want this feature or I want that feature. The question to ask then is, why do you want that feature? What would that do for you? Because as a PM, as the CEO of the product, what you have to do is really understand why they want the feature that they do. If you go to a doctor, it's, you know, there are people, like my mom's a full-on hypochondriac. So she would go in and say, I think I have this, and ask the doctor to prescribe certain medicine. The doctor doesn't do that. You know, the first thing they ask is, what are your symptoms? Why is it that you want us to prescribe this medicine? How are you feeling? So our jobs as product managers are exactly that. When people ask you for features, note it down, but more importantly, understand why. You know, they're not going to be able to tell you what features you should add, but they'll tell you what challenges they have with your product. So please don't listen to their requirements, listen to their asks and understand why they're asking what they are, and then turn that into a requirement versus listen to those silly features that people are asking for.
Yeah.
It's usually a red herring, as they say.
I think I'd add that you also see how they're overcoming that challenge today, because that may give you a sense of additional jobs and pain in the jobs that they're trying to do.
Totally. I think as product managers, one of the things that we're very, very guilty of doing is write requirements like one-click access, everything in one place. That really doesn't make any sense. Really look at why. I mean, if you're providing so much delight and usefulness in your feature, let it be 2 clicks. It doesn't matter. So I think a lot of it is people say, oh, you know what, I don't have time, so I want one-click access. Why don't you have time? What are you looking for that one-click access? And really, what would they do in that split second that it takes to make that second click, right? The content is probably not relating to them. There's a skip button all the time. Maybe you don't have one in your product. So, you know, really think about the requirement and write your requirements from a customer job and need standpoint.